In this video, I'm going to be showing people how to set up phpmyadmin, kind of explain what it is, go into a little bit more detail about MySQL and how it works and how to interface it two different ways. You can use the command line to actually access MySQL, or else we can use phpmyadmin. phpmyadmin is a lot nicer. It will do a lot of the legwork for you, like developing queries and writing the queries, setting up the databases, all kinds of stuff. It's a very nice tool and it's very user friendly. So if you're not very comfortable with the command line, or very comfortable with databases at all, but you're curious about PHP, MyAdmin is definitely a very good way to get acquainted with MySQL. So first things first is what we'll do is we'll set up PHP MyAdmin. We'll open up a terminal window. So if you don't remember what that is, if you're on Ubuntu or Mint or any of the Ubuntu Mint derivatives, you can probably do Alt-Control-T and open a terminal. Or else, if you're in GNOME, you can go to Accessories, and Terminal will be in Accessories. And if you're in Unity, like I said, you can type it in or just hit Alt-Control-T. Sudo apt-get install phpmyadmin. Just press enter. It will download the packages and it will bring you to the configuration for phpmyadmin. Basically, what this is saying is you just need to have a database installed in order for phpmyadmin to install. So press enter. This is asking for your administrative password that you entered in the previous video when we were setting up the LAMP stack. Press enter. Now you can give it a new password, whatever you'd like, and then confirm that password. Now you can choose the web server, but we're going to be using Apache 2, so just press enter, and it will finish off the installation. So if you open up your if you open up a terminal window, or just use the terminal window that you were just in, what we're going to do is we're going to tell Apache that phpmyadmin has been installed and we want to include it in our web server. So we're going to open up the configuration file for Apache, sudo, and you can do this one of two ways. You can use a graphical user interface text editor, so that's called gedit, or you can use the command line text editor called vim, or Emacs, whatever, Nano, whatever you're using on your computer. I'm going to use vim for this, so I'm going to type in sudo vim etc apache2 apache2.conf, and basically that's what this is saying is we're going to give this super user permissions. We're going to use the application vim, and then we're going to open up this text file, which is not a text file, it's a configuration file, but it contains text. I'm going to open that up, and this is a little bit hard to see right here, so what I'm going to do is, just so people can see, I'm just going to go background. I'm just going to make that a little bit more. There we go, so now you can kind of see. So basically these are all comments. Anytime you see these hashtags, those just mean comments. I'm going to navigate down to the bottom of the configuration file, and at the very bottom is where I like to add to configuration files, just because then I know that it was me adding to them. I'm going to, so in Vim, in order to put text into the document, you're going to press I to insert, and now your cursor is actually inserting. I'm going to press enter just to give me some space. I'm going to give a comment. I'm just going to put include phpmyadmin, and then underneath it I'm just going to type the command include, and then the path to where the phpmyadmin configuration file is. So etc phpmyadmin apache.conf. There, that's all we have to do. And then so I'm going to press escape just to get out of the insertion mode in Vim. I'm going to press colon, and I'm going to press W to write the changes that I've made, and I'm going to press Q for quit, and then I'm going to press enter. That is now edited that file, and I'm back to the command line. So like I said, what we did there is we just told Apache our web server to go and include our phpmyadmin um, graphical user interface, basically. So I'm going to now restart the Apache web server so those changes take place. So in order to do that, it's just sudo service apache2 restart. Press that and it will go ahead and restart. Now, if we open up a web browser, we can go to localhost, type in phpmyadmin, and there we go. So we can put in root and our password and access our database. You don't have to worry about saving that. So this is what it looks like. It's probably a little bit confusing right now, but I'm just going to put this off to the side for right now. And actually, I'll show you one thing here. So these are the databases that are in our MySQL database right now. So we have information schema, MySQL performance schema, phpmyadmin, and test. phpmyadmin is the database which was created by the configuration script that ran when we installed phpmyadmin. I'm going to minimize this for right now, and then I'm just going to come back to the command line. So I'm going to type in MySQL, and then I'm going to put in a flag for to put in a username. The username is just going to be root, and then I'm going to put in a flag to ask for the password, and I'm going to give it the administrative password. Enter, and now we're signed into the actual command line interface for MySQL. Now, the reason why it's good to use phpmyadmin basically, and especially for newer users, is because what I'm about to show you, phpmyadmin will do all this typing and all this legwork for you, and it really, really saves a lot of hassle and confusion in interfacing with your database. When I started with databases, I used phpmyadmin exclusively, and it was fantastic. So first things first is I'm going to show you the databases. I'm going to go show databases, and you can see it's the same databases that I just showed you right here. And I'll just pull that right there. And look. So it's information schema, MySQL, performance schema, phpmyadmin, and test. So it's just two ways of looking at them. Like I said, graphical and command line. I'm going to minimize that for now. And I am going to create a new database. And like SQL is extremely simple. It's just very tedious, and there's a lot of it to write if you want to have big, strong databases and multiple tables and what have you. So I'm going to write create database, and then I'm going to give it a name like I am Rylan Gatto. Actually, that's too long. RGDB. That's better. I'm going to put a semicolon and enter that. So that says one query okay, one row affected. So if we go show databases, there we go. We can see Rylan Gatto's database, or RGDB, not Delta Bravo. So then we're going to go show, actually we're going to put in the command to use the database, and we're going to go RGDB semicolon. Now we're using the database. We're going to go show tables. There is no tables. They haven't been created. It's just showing empty right now. So what we'll do is we'll make a table within our database to hold a person's name. Now, if you wanted to make a table in MySQL, you have to enter all these commands. You have to write a script for it, run the script, and it can be a tad bit tedious. I mean, it's not like it can't be done. It's not too difficult, but phpmyadmin just consolidates a lot of things and makes it very nice and easy. So we're going to go create table, and we'll say rg table, and then we'll give it an ID, which will be an int, and it will be not null, never null, so it will be our primary key as well. And then we'll set that primary key to auto increment every time there is somebody added to the database. So every time we put a name into the database, they'll also get an ID starting at number 1. So now we need a field to hold names, and what this field is going to be is just going to be called name, because it's going to take a person's name. and then we're going to have to give that a type. So in this case, it's going to be a char, and that char is going to have a maximum of 100 characters. Any more than that, and it won't be accepted. So I'm going to end that with a semicolon, and this is just saying I'm going to create a table in the database because we're using the database, Rylan Gatto's database, and then we're going to use create table. We're going to make Rylan Gatto's table, given an ID that increments every time somebody is added to the database, and every time something is added, it's going to be somebody's name, and yeah, so we're going to enter that. Query OK, 0 rows affected. So if we go show tables, now we'll see we have that table, and I'm going to insert something into the table. So this would be the equivalent of, let's say I had an application on my website and it was taking people's names for a mailing list or something like that. You would also take their email, obviously, but we're just going to take names for this example. I'm going to insert into my table, RG table. Then I'm going to insert into the name field, and I'm going to insert the value, and it's going to be a string, so we're going to have quotes around it, and we're going to put Rylan Gatto and end that with a semicolon. So query OK, 1 row affected. Now what we'll do is we'll select everything which is in that table from RG table, and we can see that ID, the first person who was added to the database, has an ID of 1. His name's Rylan Gatto, and what we'll do is we'll add one more person just for the example, and then we'll just put Seamus Verboven, and we'll select everything from the table again, and you can see Seamus has the ID of 2, Rylan has the ID of 1 because he was the first entered, Seamus being 2, and so on and so forth in that fashion. And that's basically how you interact with MySQL on the command line. However, there is a much easier way to do this in phpmyadmin that saves a lot of that tedious typing. So if you just want to open up and make sure that if you go to localhost phpmyadmin, or sorry, localhost / phpmyadmin, and it takes you to this, and you can sign in and get to this section right here, we'll keep going.